The fourth and final part of Kierkegaard's The Present Age is about 20 pages long and takes us up to the end of the work. In the first part of this section, Kierkegaard talks about different facets of the modern age and the way in which they do away with older distinctions. So we'll talk about several of these today. First, talkativeness, Kierkegaard says, is a feature of the modern world that's particularly destructive. Genuine talk, he says, is only possible for those who know how to be silent. There is this requirement of inwardness, and the fact that we no longer know how to be silent is a sign of our loss of inwardness, and what replaces the silence then is this talkativeness, this chattiness, this idle chatter which moves from topic to topic instead of focusing upon a single subject. One of the features of the modern self, it seems, is a fear that the silence will reveal the emptiness of our own selves. This is a theme developed much earlier by Pascal, of course. Kierkegaard contrasts the vulgarity of the talkative self with the educated speech which grows out of silence, which he thinks is characteristic of an older age. Gossip is itself a type of talkativeness. And notice the thing about gossip is that it depends upon its timeliness. If we were to gossip about things that happened 10 years ago, the entire purpose would be defeated. Gossip, he says, also obliterates the public-private distinction and the form-content distinction. We end up speaking about private affairs in public in this gossip, which is related, I think, also to the notion of the public taking a peculiar interest in these things through the newspapers and other public media. A question at this point I would raise: how is it that silence is necessary for good speech? We might relate this then to his idea from the previous section of the public. How is it that the cultivation of a kind of silence and an inwardness is required in order for a person to speak well? And how is this duty of silence neglected in modernity? Kierkegaard talks about the phenomenon of acting on principle. And it's a type of being busy with abstractions. It's a kind of version of what we've talked about previously with the sort of public as an abstraction, as an abstract entity. One may do anything on principle, Kierkegaard says, but one's action lacks immediacy, passion, and even decency. And this becomes a kind of fake persona that we project at other people. The principle then turns out to be the thing. It doesn't matter what the principle is. So this kind of contentless acting on principle, something that Kierkegaard thinks is especially destructive. And then we find also the superficiality of modern action and speech, and coming from an egotism of reflection that presents brilliant but empty shams. Kierkegaard talks about anonymity as a feature of present-day speech. People make sensible remarks, but are indifferent to who makes them. There's a kind of generic quality to many of these comments. This turns into another feature of abstraction, like the public. And Kierkegaard suggests in one especially powerful passage that the future of education may turn out to be this kind of anonymous speech, students memorizing standard remarks from a book, exchanging facts anonymously, or remaining ignorant of the meaning of what they're talking about. We might think then, in terms of this section, of how this type of observation connects to patterns of online speech that we see today. Kierkegaard concludes with some observations about modern politics and society. He notes that community cannot save our modern age. Community, for us, is the context in which the individual is formed and strengthened, and the individual then will either lose himself or find himself in religion. It seems that the individual is the place, not the collective, where, for Kierkegaard, the drama of our age is going to be fought and either won or lost. In past ages, he says, the heroes and leaders, the exceptional men, were recognizable. They stood out from the crowd, and they played their role in the social whole. But in the present age, leaders are unrecognizable. They are unknown. They possess no authority, and they claim no authority. They work, he says, rather like a secret agent. If we know Kierkegaard's fear and trembling, we can relate this to his observations about the night of faith and the night of faith's invisibility in the public sphere. When the present generation has effaced all distinction and all individuality, then the secret individuals get to work. But a feature of this modern system is that one cannot look to heroes for help as we might have in the past. Every individual has to work for and through himself, and he is either lost in modern abstraction or saves himself through religion, through turning to Christianity. No individual in this system can be a direct teacher. The best he can do is to help other individuals do what he did. Kierkegaard says, they must make the leap for themselves, for God's love is not a second-hand gift. Kierkegaard's concluding thoughts on this section and on the work, a reminder that reflection is not harmful in itself, and an observation about the stages through which one goes. There's a stage of immediate enthusiasm, a state of calculating cleverness, and then a renewed stage of intensive and eternal enthusiasm. So we have a kind of circular motion regarding enthusiasm that's worth attending to. This latter enthusiasm is post-ironic, and we recognize it because it acts against understanding. Kierkegaard concludes by noting that his chief advantage in this regard with this work is that no one will ever dare to believe him and believe the things that he's teaching here and now. So that concludes my review of Part 4 of Kierkegaard's The Present Age. I hope you found it helpful. Thanks for watching today. Goodbye.